Hey, what's up, guys? Nick here. Kind of an impromptu episode this week. James and I were invited to collaborate on a YouTube industrial design community video. So there's a bunch of, actually, there's not too many. There's a few industrial designers on YouTube, and they're trying to grow the community. So we thought we would help out and help promote some of the other awesome industrial design channels on YouTube. And we're honored that we're included in that group. So you can find links to all of the YouTubers in the description. And if you aren't checking this one out on YouTube, this is probably the one to check out on YouTube. And yeah, you guys know the rest of the deal. Subscribe. Also follow on Spotify. Give us 5 stars on Apple Podcast, and join the Discord. There's some fun questions for this episode, so we want to hear your thoughts on these questions. Oh, also shout out to our awesome promotional partner, Let's Design Daily. We appreciate their promotion every week, and they post amazing design work from designers across the world. And yeah, let's hear it from Kiyoshi the Kid for our intro. Hope you enjoy. Hey, welcome to Minor Details. I'm Nick.
And I'm James.
And we are two designers across the country.
Sweating the small stuff.
Man, how you been?
Oh,
It's
there's nothing big. There's no like big news on my end of things.
Well, I think last time, it's been a while since we caught up, and obviously you've had a life changing event in your family. So let's hear it.
Yeah, we added a third. Well, actually a fourth if we consider our cat a third. Yeah, about I guess 2 weeks ago, a little more than 2 weeks ago, our daughter was born.
Congrats,
So
man.
thank you very much. So it's been a whirlwind. I mean, more sleep deprivation than I ever experienced in design school.
Really? Dang.
Oh yeah. I mean, consecutive. It's not like, in design school you would maybe pull 1 or 2 all-nighters in a row. This is like every night for 2 weeks. But it's not, it's just you're waking up periodically throughout the night, obviously, so that the baby can eat. But yeah, it's been great. She's so cute that it's all worth it in the end.
Well,
but
I think people
what's
want
up?
to know her name. Can we disclose that?
I guess we can dox my daughter. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
It's
Her
up to
name
you.
is yeah. No, her name is Clara Glenn Connors.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So yeah, she is she's a little cutie, and thankfully we have Allison's parents here with us. They've been in town for the past month. Or maybe a little bit more than a month. Because her brother also had a second kid. So we've
During
got
the past 2 weeks?
We've got no. This was a month before our daughter was born.
Still pretty close.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's one of the reasons that we moved out to LA, was so that we would be around. We would be around family. We'd have some cousins around. While our kids are growing up. But yeah, so Allison's parents are in town, and they have been an absolute godsend. Watching her for us while we take turns napping during the day, and going out and shopping for us, getting sort of essential supplies for us.
That's
like
awesome.
I don't know what we would do without them. And of course Allison has been just amazing throughout this whole experience. it's you know, it's a big deal what she went through, and she just did it with such grace. Um, so yeah, it's been amazing. It's been an amazing experience.
Are you feeling like you're back? I'm sure like for the first week it was just like you were completely out of it. And I don't think I think I might have like texted you or something, or like maybe you texted me like a week after you had your daughter, and
Yeah.
it was like I'm sure that you were just like full obsessed and focused. Have you like come
Well,
back a little bit?
yeah.
Okay.
I've come back a little bit. It's definitely gotten we've gotten into somewhat more of a rhythm
Okay.
with things. Um, but I don't know that I'm back or ever will be back fully. I have no idea. I mean, this is always going to be, there were priorities in my life prior to this, and now there's obviously a new priority.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see what things are like going
For sure.
forward.
I mean that's what I'm most interested in, just seeing perspectives change, because I
Yeah,
definitely know when you have a kid, life changes for sure, and I'm curious how that'll play into design, because we always are in love with
yeah,
design, but now you have a kid, and it's like, well, design is just a thing.
yeah. Well, I think it's something that we've talked about um, in episodes past about sort of like not letting the work and design fully consume you, and
Yeah.
kind of being regimented about your design work, like, especially when you're in school. I know it can be difficult, but trying to be very dedicated to having a schedule for getting in the studio, getting things accomplished, and getting out of the studio. So I think that this is just another thing where it's going to I th- I'm hoping I'm hoping that it's going to make me more of a focused designer when I'm at work doing work. um like I said, just because priorities are going to be changing, and so there's just not as much time to, as my dad would call it, fiddle fart. There's no
My dad
time.
would my dad would say dilly dally.
Yeah.
No,
So
I definitely see that for sure.
but anyway, um that's that's about it. But I can see your new baby in the background, Nick. That must have been really difficult to birth.
Yeah, I've been making some DIY chairs. If you're watching the YouTube, you can see them back. Um, yeah, I'm back in the studio now. My intern's helping me out as well, so that's exciting. And
You
I,
got your intern,
I do. Yeah, I believe last episode we chatted, we were discussing how I picked my intern, and now they're here. So that's
what is their name?
her name's Zoe. Um, I
Okay.
I haven't asked her if I should say her name on the podcast, but I'll just leave it at that. Maybe she's probably going to edit this, so maybe we can
Yeah,
add
why
a
don't
little
you,
credit at the beginning.
yeah, say her name and give a shout out to her socials. I mean, come
Um,
on.
I will do that. I need to discuss that with her first. Um, but yeah, she's been helping out editing the podcast, and helping out in projects around the studio, so it's exciting. It's kind of a first step in my management skills too. So I'm like checking in, like trying to figure out if I'm doing a good job or not. But
Yeah.
it's a new endeavor for me.
Yeah. I'll you she can direct all of her complaints to me, and I'll let you know how you're doing as a
Got it.
manager. I feel like,
You'll be like the HR.
yeah, I am the HR. I'm your HR for sure.
Oh, sweet. I like that. Free
Yeah.
HR service. I'm on board.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I've also been building my chair. I guess I don't even know if I had started this project last time we talked, but had inspiration to build a DIY chair, mainly because I had been sitting in my strap chair while I was quarantined for 3 months, and it's a flat base, and it was terrible to sit in. So I was like, oh, what if I could curve the base?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I've been playing around with that. I've been just curving it with 2 screws. It's just a plywood sheet, and you just screw it down curved, which is kind of illegal. Normally, like,
Illegal.
yeah, normally when you have bent plywood, you have like layers and glue and vacuum forms and things and fancy equipment like the Eames did for all their bent plywood stuff. But I'm just doing it good old janky drywall screws.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like that's in the spirit of that's in the DIY spirit. So
Exactly.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm not going to call any sort of authorities on you. Um, but it's super interesting. I'm curious about the comfort. How do you do? Does it enhance the comfort quite a bit?
It does, especially the back. When the back's curved, it definitely
Hmm.
feels a lot better than just a flat surface. Um, but yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm probably going to release the plans online, and then I also, I think by the time this episode releases, the competition will be over. But I teamed up with my friend and fellow designer Eric Trine to do
Mm-hmm.
this competition and kind of motivate other people to build their own DIY chairs. So I've been seeing a lot
Yeah.
of amazing chairs come out. Um, and Eric Trine is an awesome designer too. I can't recall if we mentioned him on the past podcast, but check him out as well.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. Um, yeah, I mean, I think right now is the perfect time for people to be looking around their house for scraps
Yeah,
to fashion into a chair.
it's a good like calming activity too. It's always fun to build stuff. Feels
Yeah.
really accomplishing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's awesome. Well, Nick, we are here today for an explicit purpose. Legend has it that do you know Jimmy Design on YouTube?
Oh, I am not. I'm not. I'm just not as big on the YouTube scene as I should be.
I am definitely the YouTube ambassador for the Minor Details podcast.
Yes.
But Jimmy Design is he's an industrial designer on YouTube. He does themed videos. He actually, I'm pretty sure he lives in Los Angeles or at least in the surrounding area. I've definitely been meaning to reach out to him. Obviously, right now things are difficult because you can't say like, "Hey, let's grab a beer, let's grab a coffee."
Yeah.
Um, you could say, "Hey, let's go grab a mask," or I don't know. But he he put together this video on his channel that was the Industrial Design 7 question challenge. I don't know if it was a challenge at the time that he posted it, but he then approached Design Plus Morna um, and
We
said,
have
"Hey,
shouted up. We've shouted up Morna before. Yes.
yeah, we have." Um, and
Yeah.
so
She's
she's
cool.
also a an industrial designer on YouTube who does themed videos. She's a design educator as well as a practicing industrial designer. Um, so yeah, Jimmy approached her um, to help him create this video challenge, and the goal of this is to build the ID community on YouTube.
That's awesome.
Um,
It's
I think
not.
it's
I wish there was more YouTube content for sure.
yeah,
You know.
and it. I mean, you know, you look at the community on Instagram, and the community on Instagram is so big and connected and interactive. But when it comes to YouTube, people feel maybe a bit more siloed. Um, I don't know. I think it's a really great thing that they're doing that
Yeah.
that they've come up with here. And there's a lot of friends of the pod and hopefully future friends of the pod that are going to be involved in this. Like we've got Reid Schlegel in there, the king. We've got Will Gibbons, Spencer from Sketch Day, Sam Does Design, um, and there's some people in here that I don't know, that I don't recognize, and so I'm excited to get to know their channels as well. So basically, the idea is, so we are, we're participating in this industrial design 7-question challenge, and we're going to have, in the description of this video, there are going to be links to all of these other channels. And so that's how this connection is going to be made between all the channels, is through these links. So, when you listen to this, when you watch this, scroll down, check out the links to these other channels. And so what we're going to do is we are going to read off and answer each of these 7 questions. And yeah, so for your listening pleasure, and yeah, in the process, build up this community on YouTube of industrial designers. So let's shall we get started, Nick?
Let's do it.
All right. I'm going to read the question. I'm going
Is
to
this
read the
rapid
questions,
fire?
and then it's take as long or as short as you want.
Okay.
Question number 1. How many pages of a PDF portfolio should you put on Behance?
Exactly.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
0. All of them. Oh.
I'm kidding. All right, that was just a test. That was a dry run.
Don't you guys ever put a PDF on Behance? You know how I feel about that.
Oh yeah. Okay, so question number 1. Industrial design is a fairly uncommon field. How did you discover it?
Yes, the discovery question. I kind of feel like these are like trivia questions almost. The way you're announcing them. Question number 1.
I have been thinking about this as a way that I want to ask these questions to future interviewees, but I want to ask them when they were bitten by a radioactive industrial designer, because it always sounds like a superhero origin story. Well, how did you discover design? But go ahead.
Yeah,
how did you discover it, Nick?
I mean, it was when I was in high school, probably like junior or senior year of high school, looking to places to apply to college, and I didn't, like, people said I should be like an engineer, and so like I started looking at engineering, and then also some other like media, like creative things. I think I might have looked into graphic design, and then I also remember looking into like game development and app development, and then at some point I discovered this other major, industrial design, and then I was like, oh, okay, I think that's for me. So it was just probably some brochure or some website that it popped up on.
Nice. Yeah, for me, it was. I guess I kind of knew about it when I was a little kid, because my dad's company, he has a rotational molding company called Bremcon Plastics in Pennsylvania. He hired industrial designers, and when I was really little, I was like sketching, like my first bits of sketching, when I started to draw in sketchbooks, were sketches of inventions.
Nice.
And
Do you
I'm
remember
pretty
what your
sure.
inventions were?
Oh God, there's some really terrible. Like I think they were all kind of like school related inventions. There was like a backpack that had like a jetpack on it. There's like, and I think I think I have a picture of it, and there's like a claw coming out of it that like, I think I called it like a bully helper or something.
Oh, interesting.
It's I guess to move bullies out of your way as you're walking down the hallway. I have no idea. But my dad, I'm pretty sure I remember my dad bringing me into his company and introducing me to his industrial designer. But that memory kind of faded, and I went through so many different phases of like what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
as so many people do. I'm curious how many people I did you ever want to be a paleontologist? Were you ever really into
Uh,
dinosaurs?
Not paleontology, but
What
the
about
other one.
marine biology?
No, no, no. I definitely wanted to be an archaeologist, not paleontologist.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of what other like jobs I wanted to do as a kid. I can't remember.
Yeah, I would love to see a list of like just everybody on the Discord. We need to get people just the list of what you wanted to do in what order as you were growing up. But when it came time to go to college, I thought I was really into film, um, and like filmmaking with friends. And so I thought I might want to go into advertising because I felt like it was kind of this balance of like being creative, but also being like kind of practical and like and creative problem solving. But I I'd also had some curiosity about industrial design from working at the toy store that I'd worked at as a teenager. Um, but I ended up going into um, I ended up going to advertising, but later on in college, I met somebody who was an industrial designer. They brought me down into the studio, and that's when I like kind of really discovered what industrial design was just
Mm,
by like talking to them and also seeing the studio space. I was like, that was where it all clicked, and I was like, this is
right.
exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
So anyway,
That's interesting. So you started as an advertising major.
I actually, well, so I wanted to do advertising, but Virginia Tech didn't offer it, and so I ended up just being a film major.
Hmm.
And so I did that for 2 years, but just really didn't enjoy it. The film department at Virginia Tech was kind of, I don't know. They were so much more focused on documentary filmmaking, and I think if I were to try to get into filmmaking, I wanted to do something a bit more, fiction based.
Nice.
Um, so anyway, but yeah, that's my long story. But yeah, it's really my dad who was the one who introduced me to the concept of industrial design. Um, so
That's
anyway,
awesome. Should I read the second question?
yeah, sure.
All right. Question two. How do you explain your job to those who don't know about industrial design?
Um, you see, have you ever seen a factory and ever wanted to know how they got built? Uh, well, we design them.
We
No,
design factories, people.
um, I always, well, here's the thing is whenever I say industrial design, I immediately follow it by saying I design products. But
Interesting.
now that product design, I mean, I don't know how many people in sort of the general populace, I don't know how many muggles there are that hear the word product design and think UX UI because now they've
My
co-opted that
gosh.
term.
I just love how we just equated industrial design to wizardry.
Yeah,
It does
well,
kind of feel like that, doesn't it?
it was actually one of my friends in college who made that comparison because he was like, like, did you get one of the things that we had to get for school was like a trunk. We had to like buy a trunk to like keep all of our stuff in
A suitcase?
for like no, like one of those like hard plastic like hardware trunks so that you could put it under your desk where you could keep all of your supplies.
Like a toolbox?
I'm
What was
talking
it called?
about like
A
I'm
trunk?
ta- a trunk.
I don't
I'm
think this is
talking
an American word. This is not.
What do
This
you
sounds
think?
like
I'm
some.
Canadian? You think I'm a secret Canadian? Uh no, it's
No,
like one of those
it's a big
it's
box.
like it's like have you ever seen like a gigantic Yeti cooler? It's like
Yeah, yeah.
something of that size, but it's like on wheels.
Interesting.
And it's for storing, it's for your garage for like storing tools and things, but basically it was like a requirement for us in entering design school. It was like where you would keep all of your supplies under your desk. And so it was not unlike Harry Potter having his, trunk, going to school. And we were like going underground, like literally at Virginia Tech, the studio was underneath the ground. So it was like kind of like secretive. And but yeah, that's he made that observation. I thought that was kind of funny. But
Yeah.
yeah, I always say I design products. And then if people are like still confused, they're like, oh, like an engineer, because sometimes you get that response.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I kind of focus on like aesthetics and usability um of products.
Yeah.
And then like I'll maybe list off some things that I've designed.
Right.
So it's never a clear cut answer. You can't just say industrial design to somebody and they go, oh, no more
Of course.
questions. Of course.
Yeah. I mean,
What about you, Nick?
I think I usually do something similar where it's like, yeah, I'm an industrial designer. I design physical things. Sometimes I'll follow it up with like, you know how graphic designers design logos? Well, industrial designers design physical products like chairs. Or I sometimes do the
Mm,
architecture analogy. You know how like architects design buildings? Well, industrial designers design products or physical things. So
yeah.
that's usually how I go about it.
Yeah, I have a quick story here about one of my professors in college, Ed Dorsa. And apparently, when he was applying to be a professor at Virginia Tech, the industrial design department was in the architecture department. Um, was in the architecture school, and so the architects interviewing him said, "Where do you see the relationship between architecture and industrial design?" And his response was, "You guys keep the rain off my products," which
That's
I
good.
thought was great.
I like
It's a
that.
very Ed Dorsa answer. Um, but okay, question three.
Let's do it.
Question three. What inspirations have developed your industrial design style?
Hmm. Yeah.
Mm,
Now we're getting some juicy questions here.
juicy.
Um, I mean, the thing about industrial design style is like it's something that's kind of forms naturally, I find. I know like in school it was always this thing of like, oh, what style do you want to do or how do you want to how do you want your style to be? And you kind of try to copy something, but at the end of the day it kind of morphs into all of the past experience and projects that you've kind of put together. I mean, I think my style is very kind of clean, simple, but also clever, fun. Um, I get a lot of inspiration from Not to Fukasawa. Jasper Morrison was a good inspiration for me. I found Jasper Morrison out after I left college. Um, I mean, those are the two big inspirations for my style, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is there? Well, I don't want to jump ahead here, but is there a specific like motivating factor to the way that you design?
Um, I think when I was in school, one of my very first studio projects, the tilting light, which I know we've talked about before, um, that entire project was about understanding a designer's philosophy,
Mm,
not necessarily their aesthetic, but their philosophy, and then using that philosophy to design a product. And so I chose Not to Fukasawa, which I guess eventually just resonated with me and always stuck with me, which is kind of funny because I think back at that moment of just like picking a random designer because you're in school, it's like your first project. You don't know all these people. The only person you know is Dieter Rams, and then the rest of them are like, who is Ross Lovegrove? What? Um, yeah, and I think my professor recommended that I should pick Not to Fukasawa, but um, yeah, I think I just really resonated with the simplicity, but also the delightfulness of it, and have been continuing on that uh, style ever since. And then I think at a certain point when I started looking into Jasper Morrison. My friend Gabo gave me one of Jasper Morrison's books, and I read the book, and it kind of changed my style a lot. I think before I was all about this like super clever, super kind of whimsical, like kind of crazy design, where it's like, oh man, how can we make this thing multifunctional, and like every
Mm.
single thing is like a new, like, how do I add all these pieces together, make a bottle opener that's a wine cork but also a sculpture. And it's like, I think at a certain point I was too far out there, and Jasper Morrison really brought it back. And I think it's a nice balance between those two of, you know, his design philosophy was all about letting a product just be a product. It's all about this idea of super normal, like what is just a normal object, and that's how an object should be. It's a it gets a little up in the clouds at some points, but that's kind of where I'm at now.
Yeah.
What about you?
No, that's great. Well, I mean, I feel like I'm sort of constantly trying to figure out what exactly my style is or how to describe it. I would say that I strive for products that I would say are sophisticated yet playful. Um, I like to think about like somebody in a suit, but they open up the suit and the lining of the suit is like a floral, like this crazy floral pattern. It's like
Yeah,
completely normal looking, and then you look inside and it's something you like get a sense of the personality. Like I but I don't know. I think it's something that I'm still kind of searching for in some ways. But like you said, I think that I probably have a style that is constantly emerging, but I'm it's not necessarily always a conscious pursuit. It's just what sort of feels right to the project and feels right to me as I'm doing it. I think I have a style of an approach to design that attempts to be very fluid um, and thoughtful and also playful. But I think there is some overlap between our styles,
yeah.
and there's definitely some divergences. But
Is there
but
any
yeah.
designers that you think influenced your style?
Oh gosh, I mean a big one for me in college. I mean, Fuse Project was really big in college.
Mhm.
So Yves Bahar definitely has had some influence on me because I do feel like there is sort of a sophisticated playfulness to Fuse Project's work.
Yeah,
Um, and by that same token, I think also Benjamin Hubert when I was in college. I I discovered his work. He just at that point he didn't have Layer. Layer was not a studio yet. It was just under his own name, and he was doing mostly furniture. But I was really intrigued by his style and his process forward approach and his um and his thoughts around the collaboration and kind of like because for me I was never going to be the like design builder, design maker, really. I feel like collaboration for me is kind of essential to my work.
yeah,
And so I was really interested in the way that he was engaging collaboration with manufacturers to do really interesting work. So I think, yeah, I think those are the big ones for me.
yeah. I can see their influence for sure.
Yeah. Um, okay. So,
Next
uh,
question.
yeah, next question.
Is it my turn to ask it?
I think it's your turn to ask.
All right. Number 4. Which company would you love to design a product for?
Ooh, I've been another thing that I've been doing a lot of recently is kind of like diving back into my past and and like products that were influential to me to getting into design. Um, because before you knew about any designers, like I didn't know about a single designer before I got into industrial design,
Yeah.
but I was familiar with products And of course, um, working at the toy store, I got really into toys. And a company that I've been thinking about recently that I would love to design something for, or even like an entire line for, or maybe even redesign their branding, is Duncan Yo-Yo. Uh,
Oh, a yo-yo
I,
company. That's a
yeah,
cool one. That's an
I,
underrated place for design. I feel like no one really has thought about yo-yos and from a design standpoint.
yeah, you know, there's sort of there's sort of like opposite ends of the spectrum. There's really expensive like machined aluminum yo-yos for professionals, and then there's
Yeah.
just sort of like really cheapo kind of plastic yo-yos. There are some things in between, but I would love to take like a teenage engineering like Rama Works like type of approach to yo-yo design, and
Yeah.
just make something that's just that really celebrates the product itself, and it's sort of modular maybe in some ways, um, but just like I don't know, Duncan and a lot of yo-yo companies, they're stuck in like a certain era. They're kind of stuck in
Yeah.
that era where the last big yo-yo craze was, which I guess was like kind of the 90s. I mean, and the 90s are kind of coming back. Um,
It's prime
but
time.
I think it I think it would be cool. I remember after college calling up Duncan like to see if they hired industrial designers, and I think it was just all engineers. I think
Hmm.
it was engineers, and they hired graphic designers to brand the different yo-yos, but I
Yeah.
don't think industrial designers really were hired there. But yeah, I think that would be a really cool company to do something for. What about you, Nick?
I think you said my answer. You mentioned it. Well, I have many answers, but I was thinking about teenage engineering would be awesome to design
Mm,
for. Um, I would have a few of their products, and it's just like really cool aesthetic and language. Um, and then another thing I'd love to design. This is not a company, but kind of like the underrated design thing, like the yo-yos. I would love to design a mini golf course. Do
nice.
18 holes, all different, like, I don't know what it would be. I don't know if I'd do contraptions or if it would be like super minimal. Who knows what it would be? But I think there's so many like fun, clever things to do on a mini golf course. So
That would be sweet. That would definitely be sweet. I hope you get the opportunity to do that someday, and I would love to take my kids there.
yeah, for sure.
Um, okay, so number 5. What is your go-to industrial design program and why?
Um, I mean, this is pretty easy for me. I think my favorite program is Gravity Sketch, VR sketching.
Hmm.
I think it's just a really powerful tool to iterate and get your concepts out there in 3 dimensions, way faster than any CAD program. But classic pen and paper is always important as well.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm still doing a lot of work in Apple Notes.
That's a good one.
uh, and just for the pure simplicity of it, it eliminates it eliminates the complexity of having a bunch of tools out. Um, or yeah, it's just like diving into any sort of CAD software. It's just like a great. I've talked about it before, but I love the infinite scroll of the notes, and also just being able to access them on my computer or on my phone. Um, and I just love. I don't know. I love something low tech that's powerful.
Yeah, for sure.
So, um, next
Oh,
question.
next question. All right, let's see. Number 6. What do you dislike most about an industrial design? Ooh, this is a hard one.
Oh, so it's what do you dislike most about the industry itself?
I don't know. I mean, I think you probably take it however you want to take it.
Yeah, that's a really tough one. Um, I think, I think one thing that I kind of dislike about it is having to justify it because I feel like
Interesting.
we're still kind of in an era where some people are getting the memo about industrial design and how significant it is, but I think there is some difficulty in justifying like being providing the industrial design service for a company. What are you laughing about, Nick?
I'm laughing because your answer is the exact opposite of mine.
Oh no.
Um,
What
I
are
think that's
you
interesting. Uh, I
so what are you thinking?
well, it's not necessarily the exact opposite, but it's kind of like a. I do agree with you that I wish people valued industrial design more, but my point, my thing that I dislike um, is the fact that I think we think too highly of industrial design. I think it is.
Mm.
I think there's a lot of designers out there that feel like it is this like God sent kind of mission, and I think that is not necessarily the right way to portray industrial design. Um, I think
Yeah.
that's something I dislike.
No,
I
I
mean,
think both
we could give like the
I think
boring
both
answers,
things can
but
be true. I
right.
think both
Both things are
things
true,
can
but
be
they're like
true, you know?
on the sides. Yeah, I think I agree.
Yeah. Cuz I just feel like um I feel like a lot of people right now in a lot of different industries are sort of thinking like my industry can change the world.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is a design problem, or people think that there's a design problem that can be solved to change the world. And I mean, I hate to dissuade anybody who has aspirations to change the world from trying to do so. Like there's that Steve Jobs quote: "The people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do."
right.
Um, but um, but yeah, I just think that um, I would just love to see more opportunities for industrial designers, um, because it's it's not always an easy field to get into, and there are so many people out there who have something to contribute. Um, and now, it's interesting now because we have kind of these alternative routes of, we have the startup culture, but we also have like, you know, you could do a YouTube channel. You could do, look at what Seth Fowler has done. He's essentially bypassed um, the typical trajectory of a shoe designer by doing a YouTube channel of sneaker reviews, and now he's designing sneakers.
Yeah, that's
Um,
interesting.
you know, so like that's something that I think is really interesting in the modern age. And also, there's things like Kickstarter. You could just go and do a Kickstarter instead of having to find an industrial design job. But I do wish that in the minds of people who are setting up an organization or a company, in thinking about um, the types of people that they need, that industrial designer would be on that list if they're considering making something that's a hard good.
Yeah,
That industrial designer would come top of mind, and I think that's that area where industrial design is not really well known as an industry. Um, but
definitely.
then if they found us, they would found that our heads are huge and we think we're more important than than we actually are.
Right. Yeah,
But
no, I think you're right. I think both of our points are just on the ends, right? It's like you're saying we should value industrial design more, or the industry should value the outside industry should value it more, and I'm saying we need to think less highly of ourselves. So we're like
Well,
right in the
it's
middle.
yeah. Well, it's on one end, it's like I'm talking about how the industry should perceive us, and
Right.
on your end, you're talking about how we should perceive ourselves.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, So, um, yeah, uh, yeah, but that's interesting. Um,
That's a good question.
we're coming up on our last question here, Nick.
Last one. Here we
Uh,
go.
this is it. Uh, what makes an industrial design good?
Hmm. Yes, the golden question. If we only knew this, we'd all be building perfect. I don't know. I mean, I think obviously it varies per designer and per project and everything. I think for me, I think a good design is something that is thoroughly thought through and hopefully adds a bit of value to the user's life. I don't know if good industrial design for me necessarily entails like invisible design. You know how like I think there's the quote of a great design is one that the user never even thinks about.
Hmm.
That's not, I mean, that's, I guess this is more of like a style thing again, going back to the style question. I think it's something that the user should be excited and delighted to use, um, whereas opposed to not even thought about. I don't know. It varies widely depending on the project for sure.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think on a basic level, I think like it's like what makes a design good and what makes a design great. And it's like what makes a design good for me is that it functions in the intended way. Yeah. How am I trying to say this? It does one thing really well. I think
Mm,
I mean I think I really you were talking about sort of like the multifunctional sort of design.
yeah.
And I remember when I was working at Lifetime Brands, we would always be thinking like, okay, what could we add anything to this to make it better? They called that a plus one.
Right.
So like for instance, if you have a can opener and you add a bottle opener feature to it, that would be a plus
Nice.
one.
Nice, man.
Oh yeah. What's funny about that is I always thought the can openers had bottle openers on them because the can opener I had growing up had a bottle opener. But that turns out not to be the case.
I think a
Um,
lot of them
but
do.
yeah, it's a very easy move to make because literally you're just cutting out a bit of material to create that hook for the bottle opener.
I think the bottle opener is the most common plus one thing. Because I remember
Yeah,
even back when I was like interning, I remember like adding bottle openers to things that it didn't even need it. Like I think I
to
had like a
dog toys.
no. This is like when I was interning, but it was a pet project. I think I had designed a dog collar that had a bottle opener on it.
Oh my
Just a
god.
sketch, just a sketch. It never made it through. Calm down, guys. Calm
Yeah.
down.
Oh,
Everyone's freaking out right
I
now.
remember. Do you remember sandals that had bottle openers on the bottom? I think they're
Yeah,
still making them.
yeah.
It's
Or like
yeah.
there's this one designer that like made a spinning top that has a bottle opener. It's so dumb.
Oh, yeah, that guy. The worst. Um but yeah, I think I really love products that do one thing really really well.
Yeah,
And also of course I there's an aesthetic quality that I want them to have. And that aesthetic quality can vary from product to product depending on what I'm looking for. Um, because like it's something that I found when Alice and I first moved in together, and we were figuring out products that we wanted to populate our home with. And
Right.
it's like some things you want to be invisible and some things you want to stand out. Like there is this mixture.
Yeah.
And so I think like you're saying, a good design can vary depending on what you are requiring of that design to do. And sometimes you're requiring that design to stand out in a way that is aesthetic, as well as being functional. And some products you want to blend into the background. And I think that comes down to personal preference. And that's what's great about having a marketplace of design, is that you have the options
Yeah.
available to you to decide, I want an invisible design or I want a statement. Um, and so, yeah, I think good the parameters for what is good design will vary from project to project. Um, but I think at a bare minimum, it has to be aesthetic in the realm in which you're designing, and it has to function. Uh, it has to function well, as you know. Those are kind of bare minimum.
For sure.
So yeah, that is that. So that's the 7 question challenge. Um,
That's
so
awesome.
again, yeah, yeah,
Do
that was
we
fun.
do we get to challenge anyone else? Is this like a game of telephone? We could challenge our
No,
listeners to just put it in the Discord or something.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I would love to hear other people's stories for
Yeah.
sure. Um, but I think the idea is that these videos, made by all of these creators, are going to drop on the same day,
Oh, what
and
what day?
they're all going to be linked to one another. So that'll be
Okay.
Monday, June 29th. Um,
Oh
so
man, so we gotta release this
yeah,
soon.
we got to edit. Yeah, we got to. Well, we got to edit it kind of quick. Um, but um, but yeah, so this they'll all be launched at the same day. Everybody's description will have links to the other YouTube channels, the other creator YouTube channels, and so that we can, you know, really figure out and strengthen this YouTube community of industrial designers.
Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome. I would love the YouTube to be a bigger thing in industrial design. I've always had this dream of having like a vlogging style YouTube channel where you would vlog the entire design process from like idea, and like you would go to the factory and get it made and everything.
yeah,
I mean, I know Sam Does Design has done a little bit of that. I think that's the closest person I've seen do it. But
yeah. Well, I think the thing that you and I have found through doing this is that there's a shallowness across the board when it comes to Instagram,
yeah,
because it's image based and it's sort of statement based, and it's not really a place for conversations. And what I love about YouTube and YouTube channels is that I feel like you really get to know someone.
definitely.
You
Yeah.
really get to know a specific type of, you like, I find creators all the time where I'm like, oh man, like I love this stuff. This is such a weird niche thing that this person's doing. Like recently I've been watching this guy called the Retro Future, who does Game Boy modifications
That's
and
awesome.
like refurbishes old Game Boys.
Yeah.
And I love this, like I love his style, I love his personality, and like what he's doing. It's so much fun that, like, in this era of media, like, you are exposed to so many different types of media personalities than you ever would have been in any prior era,
Is
when
this
it would have been like somebody dictating who goes on television,
Yeah, for
who gets
sure.
a movie made.
Is this Game Boy modder? Is this his full-time job?
It seems like it.
That's pretty
Like,
crazy.
it's like maybe this will be our shout out for, I don't know, although this video is supposed to be connecting the industrial design community. But the one of the projects that he did well, he has these two projects that I thought were really funny. He took an old original Game Boy and made it really long, like a foot long.
It's a long boy.
So the screen is like, up here, the buttons are down here. And the other thing that he did was take one of those Nintendo DSs that's kind of like the laptop form,
Oh
it's
yeah.
like the folding one, and he added a second screen to it. So, but it just like plays the same thing.
Oh
It's
my
just two
gosh.
screens playing the same thing. But yeah, I love stuff like that. And that's what I love about YouTube is like you can get really into somebody's work, but you can also really um find personalities and people to connect with. Whereas I feel like sometimes Instagram, that can be kind of lost
Yeah,
in a
for sure.
way because
Definitely.
it's so yeah. But anyway, so I'm really excited to be a part of this challenge. I want to thank Design Plus Morna for inviting us and for Jimmy Design for starting this.
Yeah,
Um,
thanks guys.
and yeah, like we said, check out the links in the description to other creators on YouTube, and go give them a follow, subscribe, and if you're not already to our channel, subscribe, like. If you click on that little bell icon below the video, you'll get a notification when a new video comes up. Um,
Also, I have a crispy video set up this week. I don't have like a crappy webcam, so gotta look at the
yeah,
YouTube.
yeah. So anyway, I think that's it, Nick. Um, but it's been great catching up. I might have to vanish for another month.
I understand for sure. Yeah,
Um,
we still have some interviews on backlog too, so excited to get those out eventually at some point.
yeah.
But
All right, man. Well, it was great seeing you and great talking with you and doing this 7 question challenge with you.
definitely was fun. And as always, I'm at Nick P. Baker.
I'm at I Draw Receipts.
Peace.
Later.